All right, guys, we've done it. We've made it to the end of the week. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Episode number 180 out of 180. So thank you so much, you guys, for allowing me to do this. It is FISHTORY, and you're listening to Alex Williamson, of course. So today we're going to be talking about a new research paper that, I'm so excited because it talks about fish and their ability to recognize themselves. Now, what's interesting about this is that some monkeys, there are some very complex animals that cannot figure out that it's their own reflection in the mirror. They go a step further than that in this study, but let me read you some of the excerpts of the actual study. So, a research team led by specially appointed Professor Masanori Kahota from the Graduate School of Science in Osaka's Metropolitan University has demonstrated that fish think, "It's me," when they see themselves in a picture. Not only do they think this when looking in a mirror. So the researchers found that the determining factor was not seeing their own body, but seeing their own face, their own eyes, and maybe in the eyes. These findings have been published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and it's an interesting study because there is a fish, and its Latin name is the Labradorus dimiduatus, and it's commonly known as a cleaning fish. And they're really smart fish, we knew that, saltwater fish, which are known to be able to recognize themselves in mirrors. We already figured that out too. But they regularly attack unfamiliar cleaning fish who intrude on their territory or try to skip in line of who gets to clean the whale shark, or who gets to clean the manta ray, or whatever it is they're cleaning in their little region. And they were presented 4 photographs, a photo of themselves, a photo of an unfamiliar fish, a photo of their own face on an unfamiliar fish's body, and a photo of an unfamiliar cleaner fish's face on their body. Interestingly, the cleaner fish did not attack the photos with their own faces, but they did attack the ones with their own bodies. So it is clearly the face, maybe the eyes, maybe just the shape and the ratio of the face that is variable enough that they know that's them. What's really remarkable about this is they're doing it from memory, and they're flipping it around from the mirror image, because they're able to do that after seeing themselves in the mirror. Now, they're also curious, are these fish able to just know inherently that's me? Like, how could they know that from a photo? And it may be that they're using the reflection and optical tricks that occur when you are in the water, where the surface reflects down and you can sometimes see a mirror image on calm water, or when salinity is differential and you can get mirages. It may be things like this where they're seeing themselves, or in fact it may be in the eyes and the reflective eye of like a shark that they're seeing in that black. They're seeing themselves and learning what they look like, and even though that would be warped in either case, they're knowing it and holding it to be true, that they can pick themselves out of a photo lineup and still know themselves apart. Now, to negate the possibility that the fish considered the photographs of themselves as very close companions, a photograph mark test was conducted, where fish were presented with a photograph where they were given Photoshop little parasites on their throat. 6 of the 8 fish in the study saw the photograph of themselves with parasites and were then observed rubbing their throats against different materials in their aquarium, trying to get it off. While showing those same fish pictures of themselves without parasite marks, or familiar cleaner fish with parasite marks, did not cause them to rub on anything. So they definitely know it's themselves in the photos, and they definitely get that it's flipped around. That is wild. That means they are very smart. That they are also smart enough to remember sharks and rays and whales and different things, they're able to remember this group of fish, and specifically this species, but they're able to remember 6 months to a year ago when they last cleaned a shark or a fish that came through, and they will clean the fish that they last cleaned last. So if it had been cleaned recently, they'll clean another fish that they cleaned, say, 9 months earlier instead of the one they cleaned 3 months ago. And they'll remember it in order for dozens of fish. So these are definitely very intelligent fish in that they're servicing the other fish that they eat parasites off of, sharks and so forth, and that provides them food, but it also, then they get protection from those fish being in the area. So it's pretty cool what they do, and we knew that they were smart, but this is a whole new level of sense of self. And according to the study, it's the first time that they've demonstrated that fish have an internal sense of self and a memory of it, and that they can apply actions to maladies or to things that are wrong. And so it's really questioning, do fish have a sense of self? Do fish understand where they are, who the fish around them are? I mean, in a lot more complex sense than we ever gave them credit for. And also, why are they able to pick these things out so well from photos and from mirror image imagery in their head, in their memory? How are they able to flip it around and still know that the mirror image of them versus a photographed image that's the other way, how are they able to process all that? It's wild. It's like having to know two fish that are you, and know that then if the parasite in the photo, and you're used to seeing a reflection of yourself as yourself, just like humans, a lot of times you'd reach for the wrong side inherently in a mirror. Well, in a photo, if it's on the proper side, that would make sense that they'd go scratch it. But in the mirror, when they gave them, mirrored images of themselves, they could go and clean off the Photoshop parasites that were in the picture. Now, the parasites weren't on the fish. They wouldn't, they're not harming them. But it's pretty crazy that they're able to do that. So what do you guys think? I mean, these are some saltwater fish, and we haven't even tried any of this stuff with other fish like cichlids that have really complex social dynamics that we've seen other things with. But I would be very surprised if some grad student, some professor, some team doesn't do this next with fellow freshwater fish, cichlids, bettas, labyrinth fish, things like that, because they've also done work with them recognizing themselves in mirrors, and a lot of times they can't do it. So it's interesting if maybe the mirror is the problem, because they don't live in environments where they get to swim alongside a big shark with an eye that lets them see themselves. So maybe that's it. Or maybe it's being in the ocean and the salinity, the optic tricks. We just don't know. Or maybe they're just the only smart fish like that. But I'd love to find out more. I'd love to know what you guys think. And, I'm probably going to actually put this as episode number 177 because I like this topic more than all the other ones this week. So, thanks for watching, guys. You can become a member, get my sources, my behind-the-scenes stuff, and any interesting links and photos to this audio-based FISHTORY series in the community tab. It's only $1.99 to be a member to support the channel. That's as low as I could set the price, and it really does help out. Lets me do the channel full time, and it helps me with my therapy because I apparently can't talk. All right, guys, have an awesome week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Hey everybody, what is going on? This is Alex, and welcome to FISHTORY on the secret history living in your aquarium, also featured on the Aquatic Morning Show and on my podcast now, found on all platforms, all major platforms, and we're rolling that out slowly. We're doing the deep dive content first, and then we'll start releasing some of these episodes that are always going to be audio based. So these are designed ideally for members of the channel who want to sit and listen to the top stories of the last week in aquaria, in scientific research of freshwater fish or saltwater fish, ecology, and anything related to the aquarium hobby that may be of interest or that I find of interest. So the first story we have this week is a really interesting one in that it involves some of my favorite things. One is helping out an indigenous group of people by using the hobby and aquaculture as a way to uplift women, specifically out of poverty, women with families, which in many cases, if you look at the studies, when you start lifting women that have children out of poverty, it impacts the entire society at large much more effectively than if you just, for instance, give a guy a job or a teenager or whoever. It's women with children that make the biggest difference and tend to then set that example for their kids. So I love that. And let's start off this week of really fascinating stories, starting off a story talking about aquaculture, helping women and children and impoverished people in India. So episode number 177 of FISHTORY. Yep, we've made it. In what is being described as the first of its kind experiment, 82 islanders off of the coast of India, 77 of them being women, were selected and underwent intensive training, and they formed these groups to make ornamental and aquacultural fish breeding groups that then they sell to basically exporters, and they receive the money from it. Now, helping the islanders in these islands off of the Indian coast is especially important, as I said before, when it is the women, because they generate the income that then supports kids, households, and so forth. And for one reason or another, science and study after study seems to show that women with children allocate money and resources far more effectively and prudently than, for instance, young men do. So this island is pretty limited in the resources it has, and traditionally textiles, coconut, tuna fishing, and tourism are really all they have. And during the monsoon season, it kind of comes to a halt. And so they don't have a whole lot of ways to make money during that time, and everything kind of locks down. However, they have started working with government groups and international aid groups, one being the NBFGR. How's that for an acronym that doesn't roll off the tongue? But they have started teaching these women how to grow clownfish, coral, sea anemones, and ornamental shrimp that are native to the waters there in India. So the NBFGR maintains a germoplasm resource center for marine ornamental organisms on the Agadi Island, which is the main island in the chain off of India. So for conservation, as well as boosting the livelihood sources for those islanders, the support that the NBFGR is providing includes buildings and technology for them to raise aquacultured shrimp and ornamental fish of small sizes. Now, they work in 4 clusters, and the community aquaculture units, as they're called, have participants at each of the 4 locations on the island, and they all kind of take turns and shifts working on specific projects. Now, what has been most notable is raising ornamental shrimps, and they raise them to a marketable size. They use salt water from their local region, and they use additives and things to help them grow a bit faster food-wise, as well as filtration and conditions where they build kind of a biotope of that island there. But it has really helped to expand the activity and enhance the income in the ornamental fish sector there, which was not a factor before this group came in and tried this. And so they're doing captive raised clownfish, and they were also supplying spores or seeds and starts, frags for coral and different macroalgae. And they were also given rearing tubes, a little mini blower, aeration tubes, stones, hand nets, food for them, and beneficial bacteria, along with the larvae for shrimp, which are known as Thor hananensis, or Hyanensis, which is really hard to say, Hyanensis. But Thor, being a genus of shrimp that I didn't even know about, is pretty cool for the name of a shrimp in India. But if you want to go by its complete Latin full name, it's the Aniolocaris brevicarpalis, and the clownfish had been supplied by this group. So 46 women beneficiaries from the 4 clusters of the Agadi Islands received the materials and stocked the base breeding animals, and then were taught how to continue this process. And with the team monitoring these units, there's 1 or 2 lab technicians at each site that's able to help them work through problems and troubleshooting, as well as try out new breeding techniques. So I think this is just a really cool idea that you could have breeding rather than catching wild saltwater fish or freshwater fish and shrimp for that matter. And so it's an experiment in community-based breeding and sale of ornamental fish on a small scale that connects to a larger system. And they're using also things like coconut fronds and catappa leaves, and it's all powered by solar panel as well, which I think is really cool on top of everything else. So let me know what you guys think about this, if you know any programs like this, or where you guys think there could be an opportunity. I mean, maybe it's Caridina shrimp, I don't know. Some of them seem pretty tricky to raise, and I'm surprised they started with saltwater fish of any type, actually. But I suppose when you live there where the fish grow, it's easy to bring in water that's already perfect for the shrimp. So that may have been some of the consideration. But I'm definitely going to follow up on this one, and I hope you guys find it interesting as I did. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Alright everybody, how's it going? It's Alexander Williamson yet again on FISHTORY, the audio-based format of all the things that are going on, all of them, all the things in the aquaria hobby, science, and academia. So for episode number 178, thank you guys for letting it exist this long, and sorry I've been away. I've been working on deep dives, getting the podcast started, and you guys have seen the betta video and the Caridina video, and the scuds and the tannins videos. I've done all these big deep dive videos lately, as well as been traveling, and I hope that's content that you guys like, enjoy, and find useful as well. But obviously I love this little format of FISHTORY and want to continue with it. So I wanted to tell you guys in this episode about some new species that were found in the last month. Now, it's also worth noting that 203 species of freshwater fish were discovered in 2022, according to Shoal, and that's actually discounting the ones that were just taxonomically split apart from their existing groups. A lot of times we'll say, oh, it's a new fish because we've split the group into 2, and then we count that as a new fish. Well, they took that into consideration this year, and they didn't count that necessarily unless it was a very big split, like into 3 or 4 species. And subspecies they didn't count either. But we'll get to one exception in the next episode that has to do with trout, where they are very particular about subspecies in the salmonids. Anyways, for this episode, I want to tell you about a couple species they found, and one is a new population of the cave tetra, the Mexican blind cave tetra, or the part of the episode where Alex butchers all of the Latin, usually, the Astanix mexicanus from northern Sierra El Abra in the man, I'm going to mess up this also, but it is from Mexico, and it's from the state of Tamaulipas. Probably said that completely wrong, or Tamaulipas. Tamaulipas, and plus I got a cold, so it's hard to say. Guys, just cut me a break. It's from a northern province in Mexico. Previously unknown and unrecognized, this alienated pocket of cavefish is completely different and has evolved possibly millions of years, but at least several 100,000 years separate from the existing known populations of the cavefish that are known to central and northern Mexico. And this one has been found to have different morphology and a different phenotype and genotype. So it's definitely a new species, which is pretty cool because we are just scratching the surface of all the cave systems in the world. All right, the next fish I want to talk about is called the Imparfinus lepturus, and it is a suliform, so it is a catfish kind of thing, almost like a banjo catfish, and it is striped yellow and black, and it's a mottled looking catfish. It's not like really firm stripes, but kind of banding of dark than light, and kind of a gravelly color of pepper kind of all over the pattern, with a big long tail section and a wide head. Kind of like some of the bumblebee catfish from South America, but it was found in the upper Paraná River Basin in Brazil, and it has got very long whiskers. Some of the whiskers are longer than the actual fish in total. All right, so the next species that they announced finding is the Characidium floridelis, and it is a new gender dimorphic. If I say the other word that starts with an S and is more accurate, it always demonetizes these things, and then they don't spread as episodes. So even though it should be schmaximally dimorphic, we're going to say gender dimorphic. But it is from the Crenicidae group, and it was found in Guapore, Rio Madeira in Brazil, and it is a brand new darter tetra, a Characin species, part of that group, and it is a striped and mostly translucent darter tetra, and related to the other darter tetras with a kind of unremarkable female that looks different from the males, but they have big long fins. So their dorsal fin and their pectoral fins are very elongated, kind of like pseudomagills when they show off, and they like to show off. Darter tetras generally, they kind of spin around and do the flare thing where they show off to one another. It's pretty cool. If you haven't seen a darter tetra, they're kind of an overlooked species. The green darter and the black line darter, the red darter, they're all very, very cool tetras. But in this new species, they're very small. They're still found in very tannic and acidic waters, and they seem to see yellow translucent body pattern on the males with them black stripes, kind of like tiger stripes on them. So it's a definite potential niche species that could enter the hobby. Definitely interesting, even though they're kind of hard to collect because they hang out either in kind of scattered groups or totally alone if they're not in spawning mode. Partially because of just how densely vegetated the areas they live in are. A lot of times they'll live under leaves that are, like the photos from where they found them, it looks like there's not even water there. It just looks like 2 or 3 inches of water that's mostly filled with leaves and sticks in this flooded forest. So the next species out of the 5 we're talking about that were discovered last month, a new member of the small-toothed sleepers, the Telestai, and it's a goby form, and this one is from Guangxi, southern China, and it's kind of a cool little goby. It's a sleeper goby if you've seen what they look like in the past. They're kind of they have a torso that bends kind of at the shoulder, so to speak, above the pectoral fins and right ahead of the start of the dorsal, and they're just kind of your standard little river goby, kind of look like a loach or a goby, but definitely kind of a cool one in that they're right on the border elevation-wise of subtropical temperatures and tropical temperatures, so it's adding to the rather large list now of species that could live in unheated tanks that we are starting to learn more and more about around the world. Now, the last one of the month that we're going to mention of the freshwater finds is the Ichiloglanus nami, and it's a new species of catfish described from the Gam River, a tributary of the Red River in northern Vietnam. And it is a really odd-looking catfish. This thing has a big old lump on its face. It looks like the blobfish, kind of. The infamous Bob the Blob fish. You know, that old meme picture? So it's got this large, fatty hump. They think it's likely to contain sensory organs, maybe be used for some sort of mating ritual or sparring in the males, but definitely the males have an extended forehead and kind of this big old snout, which is interesting because these fish are found in the same waters as the other interesting fish of the area, loaches of the area, that have a cleft, even though this is a catfish, but they have a cleft sinus where actually it looks like someone took a chunk out of their face right below their eyes, into their sinus cavity and nasal area. So it's kind of like a yin-yang to that. These ones have like a big old lump sticking out, whereas the other ones have a chunk taken out of that region. So weird looking fish, and one that will definitely be a head scratcher on like what exactly happened here evolutionarily. But I hope those are some exciting new species for you guys to think about, check out. I'll put some links for members in the community tab if you want to see what they look like. It's only $1.99 to be a member, and it is always so very much appreciated. Also, you get behind the scenes access to other stuff, anything that I post, any useful tools that I find, you guys get it first. Alright guys, I'll see you next time on The Secret History. Living in your aquarium, fish to eat. Bye guys. What's going on, everybody? We're already at episode number 179. That didn't roll off the fingers too easily, but welcome to episode number 179 of FISHTORY. Today we're going to be talking about a new category of salmonid, of a trout. It is a new trout, and of the rainbow trout species, they're pretty amazing. Some go into the saltwater, some stay landlocked. There's a lot of morphology there in all the salmonids. They have the ability to, whether it's a kokanee or a silver salmon, there's different types that get landlocked. Some stay in the river for a while, some go out to sea, some come back. Some stay in lakes their whole life. And it's really interesting how they've kind of speciated, especially because the Ice Age is what has really kind of been the last thing that allowed these fish to enter the territory where they're best known. So here in Oregon and Washington, Vancouver, BC, Vancouver Island, that is, and also the mainland, BC in Canada. Well, in Salmonidae group, the Onocorhynchus mycis, which is rainbow trout, now has a new subspecies of calisulat from the McLeod River. And this rainbow trout, or Onocorhynchus, I can never say that, mycis, Onocorhynchus mycis exhibits high levels of phenotypic diversity compared to the other trout. It has numerous species, subspecies are known in the rainbow trout, from the coastal ones like I was mentioning to the ones that occur in the Cascades by me up near Seattle and in Oregon, to the Sierra Nevada trout, and to the ones in the Great Basin in Montana, and little stream trout and alpine trout, all the way to the golden trout in California. So it's kind of interesting, but there are now new subspecies outlined, and this one is going to be a completely new one, named as the Sacramento red band trout. And it is going to be considered separate from the rainbow trout, the O.M. That's the words I can't say in Latin, basically meaning rainbow trout. Stonii, which is from the Upper Pitt and Upper McCloud rivers also, but this one is completely separate from that golden trout lineage, and is actually found on the other side of the break of the drainage for the mountain range. So pretty interesting how these things are broken up into species and subspecies. Why it's not considered a whole species of its own, that's always a little confusing to me, because these fish look extremely different. I mean, they can be yellow versus red and like 1.5 feet and 10 pounds versus some that only reach 2 pounds and 9 inches long at their very max. That would be a really fat one, but you get the point. So other species that have been broken out of the rainbow trout group are the Newberryi lineage, the Stonii lineage, as well as a handful of others that are from that California, Sierra Nevada region. They are monophyletic, and they are not related to the interior red band trout lineages of the Newberryi, the golden ones, or the Garadinerii, which is yet again hard for me to say, or the Stonii, or the Shasta, the Lake Shasta trout that actually have evolved on their own. Also, the Calisulat trout has also been recognized as a new subspecies. So the Omycus calisulat is another one, but the newest is the red band or Sacramento red cloud, red river, red band, whatever you want to call it. It tends to be a red fish in the Red River, but it's a very beautiful fish, and I think the golden trout is the most beautiful where my money's at. But that's just my opinion. So that's all I've got to say about that. Maybe that'll excite some of you anglers. Maybe it'll open up some new avenues of protecting certain rivers if that gets considered its own subspecies and needs protection. And that's always something that is a nice little ace to have in our sleeve for conservation if it's needed. But I don't know that the populations have been analyzed to that extent yet, since this is a brand new species. In any case, thanks for watching. I hope your week is going great. Thanks for letting me stumble through that last one, and I promise tomorrow's episode will be a zinger to end the series this week with. Alright guys, back to you at the Aquatic Morning Show, and I'll see you guys on the next episode if you're listening to FISHTORY.